Your home wall is too short. I'm gonna give you 4 ways to make your climbing wall higher. This is Rock On Dad. I'm Steven, the husband of 1, father of 3, pastor of many, and this is what I do on Monday Fun Day. One, two, oh, I'm at the roof. Hey, if you're like me, you're stuck with a low ceiling. You gotta do something to generate more height. So instead of getting frustrated, try one of these 4 methods to increase your climbing height.
Design sit starts.
Now, most rock walls have what are called routes. A route is a color-coded set of maneuvers to get to the top. So pink only in this case. When you do a sit start, you add a good 2 or 3 moves to your route. See, again, standing up right here, 1, 2, I'm done on a 9-foot wall. But if I sit down, extra moves. Design routes today that incorporate sit starts. You'll instantly add a few moves to each of your climbs.
Build a roof.
Not this kind of roof. The second way to make your climbing wall taller takes a bit more work, but still does not require anything drastic. It just requires you to re-engineer or rebuild part of your wall. On the very first gym I ever built, my ceiling was about 10 feet high. And just for fun, we added a 45-degree reverse incline at one part of the climb. And little did we realize that by doing that, we were actually gaining almost 2 feet of climbing space. We went up about 5 feet and then added a 45-degree slope. And just simple math tells you that that's almost 7 feet of climbing. So 7 plus the 5 below turned our 10-foot wall into a 12-foot wall in that section. In my first YouTube video, I actually took down a giant roof. And this increased the space that I had to climb by quite a bit. The ceiling in my garage is only 9 feet, but this roof, because it was about a 10-foot slope with a 3-foot kickboard start, turned into a 13-foot climb. So by adding a roof, I increased my climbing distance from 9 feet to 13 feet, and that's huge. If you add a roof, not only will you add a fun dynamic to your wall, you will also increase the total distance climbed. The longer and bigger the roof, the more climbing space you add.
Enter your attic.
And it takes a little bit of engineering, and you also have to have the right space. But man, if you can pull it off, does it change your climbing gym? This gym that I first built was a 9-foot traverse wall. The ceiling was only 9 feet high in this garage, and so it spanned the whole side of one garage, and it was fun, but it only took 2 or 3 moves to get to the top. One day, it was actually on Halloween, and a bunch of people were in our garage and kids were climbing, and a dad said to me, "You ever thought about going into your attic?" I was like, "That's brilliant. How did I not think of that?" And he happened to be an engineer, and so he engineered for me how to take out a truss up in the attic, and I did that, and that revolutionized my climbing gym. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. In order to take out your sheetrock, identify your spot, whether it's 4 feet by 8 feet or some other size, and cut a little triangle with either a sheetrock cutting tool, which are super cheap, or just get a serrated pointy knife from your kitchen. Once you have a triangle and have a space to cut more, you can take a regular saw, like me, I'm a little ghetto, or again the sheetrock saw, and then cut to your spot, cut to your space, okay? And then just cut that out. I do recommend cutting your hole in the ceiling exactly 4 feet wide and 8 feet deep. That way if someday you need to take it out and replace it, it's just one easy sheet of sheetrock. Before you cut into your sheetrock, you should identify where your electrical panel is. If it's in the same joist bay as where you're going to be cutting out, I wouldn't do it there. You're going to have wires running like crazy. Mine happens to be right here, and so I was one joist bay okay. This joist right here, in fact, you can see some of the wires sticking out right here, on the other side contains most of the power into the upstairs. My attic space has your standard trusses, and yeah, it's a little bit messy up here. It's turned it into storage. The key to taking out a truss is to engineer it with a supporting beam at a lower point. also reinforcing the truss joists. This is a 2x8. A 2x6 would work just fine. You do need more than a 2x4 though, and it needs to be sufficiently low to bear the weight. What this beam does effectively is it spreads out the dispersion of the weight on top. You're going to want to add a 2x4 down the truss joist to strengthen it. I didn't happen to have an 8-footer when I was building this, so I put together 2 6-footers to reinforce. I took out one of these, and which created a 4-foot gap. Standard trusses are 24 inches apart, so if you take out one, you get a 4-foot gap. And this is plenty wide. We never hit our head or any part of our body on the wall opposite. By cutting into my attic, I increased the height of my climbs from 9 feet to 14 feet all the way at the peak. This changes the number of moves from 2 to about 7, which transforms a climbing wall. Reason for that is, if you're 6 feet tall like me, and you have 9 feet to go, that's 2 or 3 moves. But every foot you add is another move. So by adding 4 or 5 feet, you're adding 4 or 5 moves to every climb. My greatest idea for a rock climbing gym failed. It's because it was going to be an outreach gym, part of my church, and the timing just was not right. So it never got off the ground. But here's what I designed, and here's how I would have done it. The 4th way to get a taller gym is not to go up, but to actually go down. That's right. If you've got the right floor setup, you can actually go into your crawl space or into a basement to increase your spot going up. Now, I've never done this one before, but I sure wanted to on my dream build. On that build, the ceiling was only 11 feet tall, and yet the crawl space was about 4 feet deep. So if I can take out the crawl space, go down there, lay a new floor, I can add 4 feet, 3.5 feet to this climb and turn it into a 14-foot high climbing gym, which is about perfect. But this was only a year into the COVID pandemic. People weren't really interacting, and the church was just not in a place to start a new outreach ministry. So the idea never got off the ground. So if you just so happen to have your climbing gym in your living room and are able to cut out your floor, add a few feet. I've never done it, don't know anybody who has, and you'd be bold to give it a try. Thanks for watching. If now you're inspired to go build your own climbing gym in that 8-foot garage of yours, check out this video. If you want to see me take down my roof, check out this one.